Welcome to Bella in Your Business. My name is Bella Vasta, your host, and today I have a very special guest with you. Mark Schaefer and I met back about a year ago at Social Media Marketing World, and I was just blown away by his presentation that resides with his book called Known. Mark is a incredible person who has lots of experiences in the world. He's an author of 5 best-selling books. He has advanced degrees in marketing and organization. He's a professor at Rutgers, and his books are even used as textbooks. He has 7 patents. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, and he is, above all of that, the most nicest human being. He's just he's just humble and he's just approachable and regardless of how many hundreds or thousands of comments he gets, he responds to all of them. So I really wanted to have him on the show to just take up the airwaves for a little bit, get to know him, and just soak up his amazing knowledge and inspiration. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you for that very nice introduction. I'm blushing here in Tennessee. See how rosy my cheeks are?
I do. I especially appreciate you making some time to chat with all of us pet sitters and dog walkers and small business owners. I know that your schedule is very packed, and we're very honored to have you here. So, a lot of us are trying to raise the awareness in our local communities of ourselves and our businesses. And I know that you're definitely an expert in the area. I want to first start off with the fear that people might have. I don't want to be known. I think of the Kardashians. And I say that because I remember being in your class at Social Media Marketing World and you showing a picture of Kim Kardashian and
Yeah,
explaining the difference between being known and celebrity. So could
yeah.
you enlighten my listeners with that right now?
Sure. Well, I don't try to break the internet, but you never know. So, so I think this is a very important distinction. And tell you what, let me use it. Let me use an example. So, about 4 years ago, I was bidding on the biggest contract of my life. It was with the U.S. Air Force. I'm a marketing consultant.
Hmm.
So they interviewed me on Skype, like we are now, and there were like three, officers of the Air Force across on Skype. It was like I was being interviewed by three Clint Eastwoods.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of intimidating. So I started to explain why I am qualified to do this job. And 90 seconds into my discussion, the purchasing director interrupted me and said, "Oh, Mr. Schaefer, we all know who you are. We all read your blog." And at that point, and I didn't know them. I had never met them before, but I knew, Bella, at that point, I had the job because over time, I had built this emotional connection to them through my content. I didn't know them, but they knew me.
Hmm.
They knew what I stood for. They knew how I thought. They believed in me. And so if you're known, if you can build that connection with a community, I think it's really the only way to have a permanent and sustainable advantage in the business world today. Just as you're doing with this podcast, through this
Yeah.
through this interview like this, you create this great content that your audience loves, and even if you've never met them, they trust you. They love you because they see how you think. And at some point, Bella, that will result in a business benefit,
Hmm.
as it does to me. And
Hmm.
that's the main thing. It's not about being a YouTube influencer. It's about having the reputation and the presence and the authority to give yourself the best chance for your business to be successful. It's to be, don't let things happen to you. Take control of it and be mindful about how you show up on the web.
I love that. I say that a lot, like make it happen. Don't like let it happen to you, you
Right,
know? You have to
exactly.
be intentional about it. Can you tell me more about, do you think that there's a right way and a wrong way to do it online? Like, do people have to blog? Do they have to do a podcast? How does someone find out, at least digitally, what is right for them? I mean, we're talking about small business owners who are wearing so many hats and they're like, don't give me something else to do. But how could they start getting to be known in their community?
Yeah, well, that's really what my book is about because I struggled with this. Bella, I was obsessed with this.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to learn could anybody become known?
Uh-huh.
And so I did all this research, and I didn't really the research out there, the advice out there is very, very fluffy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you can dream it, you can be it. If you can be it, you can become it. It's like, oh geez, just rainbows, rainbows.
And
But
unicorns.
that's not really business.
Yeah.
And so there has to be a plan.
Mm-hmm.
A passion without a plan is a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's okay to have a hobby. Leave it a hobby. But if you want to have a business, you've got to have more than a passion. You've got to have a plan. And that's basically what I'm begging people to do in this book. Before you devote yourself to a dream or a passion or an idea, just go through my book. Do the exercises to give yourself the best chance to succeed. And I think the cool thing about your audience is they already know what they want to be known for. They want to be known as having the best dog walking business in Cincinnati, Ohio, or wherever, right?
Yep.
Hello, Cincinnati. Love you out there. So, but then you have to think about, all right, I've got my story. I love what I do. I do the best job for my customers. How am I going to tell that story? Where am I going to tell this story? And you mentioned, well, does everybody have to blog? Does everybody have to have a podcast? The answer to that is no. But you need to have some kind of content. Generally, it's written, audio, or video.
Mm-hmm.
One of those three. And you need to do it consistently. And it doesn't have to be Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at my blog, it's really pretty basic. If you look at the videos I put on YouTube, it's like one take on a smartphone. And video isn't my main channel, but I probably need to do more of that. And then you pick one.
Mm-hmm.
And you pick the one that you think would bring you the most joy. Because if you're not having fun, your audience is going to know it.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to convey that joy you have about what you do, how you love to have this business and help people, and how much you love their pets. And you have to find some way to express that. You have to bring your story to the world. Now, I particularly like what you do with your videos because it shows your face and your voice.
Mm-hmm.
And it just builds that emotional connection. Like, I feel like she's just talking to me. That's just so powerful. And here's the amazing thing. When I was a young person in business, which was many years ago,
you didn't have
many, many years ago,
Uh-huh.
I didn't have this possibility.
Yeah.
How would someone know about me? I'd have to be in a newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to be on TV or something. That's someone else's choice.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we don't have to go through those gatekeepers. We have the power to pick ourselves. And what you're hinting at is this courage to start. That's the big thing. You got to start, and you got to keep at it, and that's how you become known in your community.
I think people have a lot of respect for people that put themselves out there. And that I always say that there's perfection in the imperfections, Like people are like, wow, like, yeah, you might be a dog walker and it might not be the best lighting, or you might have fumbled up your words, or you might have dropped the phone because the dog knocked it out of your hands. But people love to see that because it's so authentic. And you hit such a great point that we are living in the best time ever, because you can get on a podcast, you could get on video, you could write a blog. It's not just like, I don't like to be on video, so I can't. Okay, then get on a podcast.
Right.
Then
Right.
write about it. There are
Right.
so many mediums that nobody has an excuse not to do it. You talked about consistency. And you also talked about the statistics. And I have to admit, for any of you who have a hard time reading, I have a hard time sitting and reading a book, sitting still. But I love listening. And I listened to your book while I was cooking, while I was driving. I got it on Audible. And so I don't physically have it here with me, which is the downside to it, but it is on Audible, and I recommend everyone goes and just does it. It's fascinating, it really appeals to everyone. But you said that there was some statistics in there, and I do remember that there were some really awesome research that you did. And I was wondering if you could touch upon any of it.
Well, so I started out doing just finding out what's out there.
Hmm.
And I really got frustrated that so much of the advice was just so bad. And
Hmm.
it's not just a matter of opinion. It's just like people have done research on how do you create a successful business? How do you create a successful brand? And like some people are out there saying, you got to be everywhere.
Yeah.
You got to be on Twitter. You got to be on YouTube. You got to be on Snapchat. If you're not on Snapchat, you're going to fail. That's not true. It's not true. You'll be exhausted. While you're failing, you'll become exhausted. You just got to
Correct.
pick one thing
Hmm.
and do it really, really well. One
Hmm.
content source. Master that. Create a community about that. Don't worry about what the everybody else is doing. Just do something that's helpful, useful, and brings you joy. One of the interesting things, this is actually new information.
You
I
heard it here
interviewed,
first.
you heard it here second.
Okay. Sorry, I was trying to get an exclusive there, you
Yeah,
know.
because I did a Facebook Live last night, I think. But uh, I interviewed almost 100 different people for the book from all over the world in all different walks of life. And I did my research. How did you do it? How did you get here? And the stories are wonderful and very inspirational because many of the people in the book had nothing. I mean,
Hmm.
some of them were almost like homeless,
Yeah.
and they figured it out. And on average, Bella, it took 2.5 years for that brand to really tip. So in my writing, in my speeches, I'm telling people 30 months. You got to have a 30-month mindset. You can't give up. Now, my book came out 1 year ago. 5, 6 months after the book came out, people are telling me, I am having immediate success. You have changed my life. You have changed my business. One lady came up to me after one of my speeches with a card. She said, I created my business because of you.
Oh.
Look at this. I've already got these customers. I just won this award. I never would have done this if I hadn't followed your book exactly. I'm thinking, how can this be? This is impossible. All these amazing people, it took them 2.5 years. How can how can they be having success in 4 or 5 months?
Yeah.
Here's the answer. The people I interviewed for my book didn't have my book. Neither did I. I stumbled around for 2 years
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
trying to do everything and be everything, and
Hmm.
I wasn't focused.
Hmm.
I didn't have the path. I didn't know what the key was. And that's the beauty of the book. It says, here are the 4 things you do. You do those 4 things. And you kind of adjust along the way. You give it your best shot. But if you do that for a consistent period of time, it'll work. And it is working. And so, lots of people around the world are saying, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." It's not for everybody
Yeah.
because it does take work and it does take commitment. You create content consistently. There's a sacrifice to that.
Hmm.
I've blogged, at least twice a week for 10 years. Never missed.
Wow.
I just wrote my 2000th blog post.
That is incredible.
And now, but now, Bella, guess what? Next week I'm going to give a speech in Costa Rica. And later I'm giving a speech in Denmark, and then England, and then Montenegro and Greece. Why? Because I've been blogging for 10 years. It
Hmm.
didn't happen in year one. It didn't
Right.
happen in year two, but it does happen. But you've got to be patient, consistent, and deliver, great quality.
That is just so motivational. I mean, it so puts it in perspective, that you just got to work hard at it. You absolutely got to work hard at it and be consistent. Mark, I'm going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to talk more about how your incredible books are being used in schools, and you also have this personal known let's see, personal branding workbook, and I don't even know too much about it, so I want to ask you about that when we come back.
Okay.
I
Do you want
don't.
me to go? Do you
Oh,
want me to go grab it?
yeah, sure, sure, for
I,
sure.
I think I got one here. Let me
Yeah,
see.
go for it. If you're watching this on YouTube, you are getting to see the behind the scenes of the podcast.
Okay.
Wonderful. I was just telling everyone if they're watching on YouTube on the replay, they're getting to see the behind the scenes of the podcast.
Oh, is that part going to air?
Maybe, unless you don't want it to.
Well, okay.
I could cut it out if you want.
I was being authentic.
Exactly. I
I
think
was
that's
trying to
kind of
be
cool.
helpful. Trying to be helpful. See, I
All right.
retrieved the book, the
Oh,
workbook.
I am so excited to ask you about that. Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
Here's the book.
Okay. And I'm back with Mark Schaefer, and we are talking about known and oh my gosh, just so much stuff. Mark, I want to know. I'm gonna be greedy about this. I want to know about this workbook that you have coming out, or that you have out. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, after listening to the first part of this podcast, are thinking, "Okay, Bella, Mark, that's great, but how do I actually apply that?" So enter
Yeah.
workbook, I assume.
Well, I'm a teacher, and
Ah,
what really motivates me is when I change people's lives, when I'm able to help them in a way that it turns things around, or they just take one little piece of something that I'm talking about and they go apply it in their business. That's my fuel. That's better than money. So when I was writing this book, it's filled with exercises. There's dozens of exercises, and you don't have to do them all. You just pick the ones that you think would be fun for you to do to help kind of excavate, where you want to show up in the world. And I thought, I just don't want people to put this book down and just everything go away.
not take
So I
action.
created this little workbook. Yeah, I created this little workbook that goes with it, and so you can fill out the workbook, and there's some extra exercises in there. There's a few little extras you can like download off the web and so forth to kind of track your progress. And it's just a way, if you fill out the workbook, you have a plan.
Uh-huh.
And it's just a way to just, don't give up. If this is the right time for you in your life, if this is the time that's right for you, and your business can benefit by becoming known in your community, I just don't want to give anybody an excuse not to win and not to do it. So I created this workbook just to give them that extra incentive to, make that plan. Don't just make it a hobby. Make a plan and then follow that plan, and it'll work.
I love all of that. Like I just do. I mean, it just makes so much sense. And what you were saying about you almost have to make a plan to start this, start anything in life really, and expect that you're not going to see results for quite a while, and resist the temptation to give up and quit until
Hmm.
you've reached some sort of a milestone. And this of course is about being known, but this is like a universal truth about life, right?
Yeah,
You can't
right.
just work out one day and then all of a sudden be buff
Yeah.
and fit. um it's just amazing. I'm curious, I've never asked you this either. um how did you get your book as a textbook in colleges? That's such an honor.
It's 100% organic. It's just 100% organic. And
Wow.
it's funny, when I wrote my first book, I wrote in 2010. It came out in 2011, and since then there's been four upgrades, four revisions. It's called The Tao of Twitter.
Yes.
And I wrote that when social media was just starting.
Hmm.
There weren't really any textbooks. Instructors were struggling. I was teaching at the university, and people would want to know. Back then, they'd say, "Boy, this whole Twitter thing, it just befuddles me. I don't know. It just seems like this wall of noise." And I'm seeing, like you do, these powerful business benefits of Twitter, this ability to network on Twitter. So I said, I can't spend 3 hours in my class explaining Twitter. So I wrote this book,
Hmm.
basically, so I had something to give out to my students so that they could remember. They could keep going back and say, what did he say about that? Oh, yeah, here it is. So then I thought, well, maybe other instructors would like this at other universities. So actually, I hired an intern, and she started contacting university professors in the marketing department and just sent them free books.
Hmm.
So that was in like 2011,
That's
2012.
brilliant.
But since then, I've got six books. I'd say probably at least three or four of them are being used at universities. It's hard to tell how many, but if I had to guess, I'd say at least 50 universities are using my book as a textbook. Last night, I gave a guest lecture at Northwestern University, one of the
Hmm.
top business schools in the country. They're using Known as a textbook. So here, they're probably paying thousands. They're
I
probably
wish
paying.
I went to school back then and we had fun
Yeah,
textbooks from people like you.
I mean, they're probably paying $40,000 a year. You can buy my book for $15.
Oops. Oh my gosh. Now, Mark, you also had like a little bit of a dabble, or maybe it was more a dabble. I don't want to discredit it, in the pet industry at one point, right? You worked for a pet manufacturer or something.
Not a pet manufacturer. That would be weird.
No, no, come on. I didn't mean it that way. Something around food or something.
Look, we made a dog.
We made a dog.
Yeah, I'm probably one of the few people that you've interviewed on your show that is not currently a pet owner. I've been a pet owner my whole life, but my wife and I, we travel so much, we just can't do it.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't be fair to the animal. So, but we've always had pets our whole lives, and so hopefully we'll get a little more settled in the next couple of years that we'll be able to do that. But yeah, for years, I was in the packaging business,
Hmm.
and my big customer was one of the huge pet food giants.
That's
And
the
so
story.
I got to go into their plants. They actually had dogs in their plants
Wow.
that they used. They tested the pet food on them.
Wow.
So and I mean, it's just their sense of smell and their taste is absolutely incredible.
Hmm.
If you change one little ingredient, they'll let you know. And so that these were their pampered little test panels that got to test the dog food every day, and the dogs just that they 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 were kind of like little marketing managers in a way.
Yeah, yeah, or quality control, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it was a fascinating business to learn about that, and a fun business to be in.
Hmm. Hmm. I love it.
The plants didn't smell that good, but other than that, it was pretty good.
Well, why don't you let everyone know how they can reach you and purchase your books and just start reading your blogs and getting all the Mark Schaefer they can.
Well, let's see. Let me see here because I do have an exclusive for you.
Oh,
Let me see.
I did
Oh,
succeed getting an exclusive from you.
I don't. Oh, okay. So
We
I
can
don't
add
have
it to
the.
the
I don't.
show
I thought
notes.
I had a copy here, but
Oh,
so this is especially helpful if you're just getting started in social media. A couple years ago, I created a little book called Social Media Explained, and there's a brand new, revised and expanded edition available on Amazon today. First day, the book is available. In fact, I think the Kindle version is still uploading. So if you're just getting started on Social Media Explained is kind of a really good place to start. It's a very helpful little book. And the brand new edition is available starting today. I haven't even really
awesome.
said anything out about it yet because
Exciting.
but the paper book is available on Amazon today. It's got a blue cover. The old one shouldn't be available anymore. There's probably some used copies still floating around. But you can find everything about me at businessesgrow.com. My blog is there, my podcast, my books, and everything, all my social media connections. And I'd love to keep in touch with your fans.
Awesome. Mark, thank you so much for spending some time with us in your busy schedule. You guys, I cannot express enough how much fun it is to follow Mark and just hear his thoughts. He truly is an amazing thought leader and just kind of gives you a lot of content to go, over. And not only that, but he's an approachable guy too. So go ahead and check Mark Schaefer out at businessgrow.com.
Businesses,
Businesses,
businesses.
oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Businessesgrow.com. Thank you for listening to Bella and Your Business. If you guys liked this podcast, go ahead and subscribe, leave us comments. Tell Mark, hey, I heard you on Bella and Your Business, and thank you for inspiring me, and tell him what your biggest takeaway was. He would love that. I know it. And you guys remember to always keep jumping.